Right, I will start. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Kerry Hallard and I'm the Chief Exec of the Global Sourcing Association, and I'm based in the United Kingdom. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined with a long-term member of the GSA, Omni, and I'm joined by the COO, Otis Tawanda Makahamadzad. I always get that tongue twister wrong, don't I, Otis? But Otis Tawanda Makahamadzad. So apologies for the pronunciation, but welcome. Thank you very much for joining. So as always with a GSA webinar, we want this to be absolutely fully interactive. There is a short presentation that we're going to run through, but I do want to go to the floor to ask any questions, get any comments, any observations coming on in, please. So once we're finished with the presentation deck, we'll stop slide sharing and I will be looking for questions in the chat, and if anybody wants to put their video on and get involved in the conversation, put your physical hand up or put your digital hand up, and I absolutely will invite you into the conversation. So without further ado, let me just start by giving a bit of an overview as to what we're trying to achieve. So here at the Global Sourcing Association, we're really passionate about, sustainable sourcing and the good work that the technology and business services industry has done and can do. We're blissfully aware that our industry has already created probably millions of jobs all around the world, but we're also blissfully aware that we could actually do a lot more. So impact sourcing has become a really hot topic, and as the ESG agenda continues to increase in importance, it's going to become an even more hot topic. But what we're also aware of is there's a degree of social washing going on out there. So not all impact sourcing really is as impactful as it could be or should be. So what we wanted to do with this webinar is to actually give our view on what impact sourcing is, what impact sourcing isn't, but much more importantly, how we believe you can actually build and develop an impact sourcing program with meaning and actually have that up and running virtually immediately. And we've identified a really unique proposition in how to do that with Omni. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to Otis, who will actually explain all the fantastic work that Omni and Econet have been doing in Africa, and give you the understanding of the opportunity and the art of the possible. So yes, this is a slide taken from the work of the Global Impact Sourcing Coalition, which was a programme of work funded by the Rockefeller Foundation from 2016 through to 2020. And from that programme of work, they identified that there was huge value that could be created through impact sourcing. So yeah, absolutely, it is a cost-effective approach of delivering business services. It's been proven that those impact workers are incredibly loyal and incredibly hard-working pool of talent, and attrition rates actually are incredibly low compared to the rest of the industry when you actually look at the performance of impact workers. Obviously, there is a global talent crisis, so this huge amount of talent available through the impact working community. So absolutely huge talent pool that can supplement the existing talent pool we have across technology and business services. And of course, there is obviously the social impact in the fact that we are bringing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people out of otherwise disadvantaged positions. So long time understanding of the value that impact sourcing can deliver. We have been working with the IAOP and its Centre for Social Impact, along with other organisations such as BPESA and Everest Group, to actually come to what we are now using as the definition for impact sourcing. So for us, and we want it to be for everyone, the impact sourcing, it's all about intentional inclusive employment. It's about a commitment to hiring and providing career development opportunities to people in marginalised communities. And for us, we define marginalised as people are either living in poverty or are in otherwise underrepresented in the workplace in any given country. So we have impact sourcing. We've got some examples of brilliant impact sourcing programs here in the UK, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in South Africa, all around the world. And those marginalised, underrepresented, otherwise disadvantaged individuals can come from any backdrop. So it isn't just poverty, it can be disability, it can be a geographic location, it can be, and there's some really, really great impact sourcing programmes that focus on giving meaningful work and career opportunities to military spouses, for example. So impact sourcing is global, and it's really, really far-reaching. So we have developed a few guiding principles for impact sourcing. Of course, it is that whole piece of social, absolutely essential. That's heart and centre of it all. But the really important piece is that it has to be long-term. For us, impact sourcing isn't a short-term job opportunity. It really is transforming the livelihoods of those individuals and the families and communities with whom they live, to actually have long-term economic empowerment and to change their lives on a permanent basis. So for us, impact sourcing isn't a dip in, dip out activity. It is a long-term commitment to drive permanent change. Also for us, impact sourcing is not about giving low-level, nasty, repetitive, uninspiring work to impact workers. It is about actually taking the impact worker on a career progression journey. It's upskilling them. It's giving them access to lifetime learning so that they actually grow and continue to prosper. So quality work, not workhouse work, is absolutely essential here. And obviously to do that in an ethical way. Again, for us, impact sourcing isn't about accessing cheap labour, paying them cheap wages. It's about, you know, really ethical labour practices that you would actually apply to every single employee that you've got. So it's ensuring safe working conditions, ethical practices and equality for impact workers within the workforce. It's also about being completely transparent about why you've got an impact sourcing programme. This is where we want to move away from any opportunity for social washing. You know, impact sourcing has to have clear objectives, clear measurement, clear evaluation, clear communication with all of the stakeholders, and also a complete commitment to continuous improvement. And I guess the last point is all about collaborating. It's all about us all. It's not meant to be a competitive advantage. It's not meant to be a marketing piece to win a new piece of business. It really does need to be a collaborative effort across the entire industry and ecosystem to actually share the best practices, share the learnings, share the failings, so that we can all embed true, meaningful impact sourcing within our programmes. So these are the guiding principles that we've been developing with the IAOP and the members of their impact for their Centre for Social Impact. What's really, really quite exciting is the GSA and the IAOP has developed a global joint venture. The global joint venture is called Formiga, and it stands for the formation of the Industry for Good Alliance. Formiga, as a word, also stands, well, is actually the word ant in Portuguese. And again, that comes back to we're all working together, collaborating together to drive this programme of change. And Formiga is going to be the only global assessment and accreditation body for sustainable sourcing, and we are collaborating on developing and taking the already fantastic work that was done by the Global Impact Sourcing Coalition to work on the development of a new global impact sourcing standard, so organisations can assess how well they are delivering impact sourcing in the programmes around the world. So just to quote a few really big bodies out there, you know, impact sourcing is incredibly important and can achieve 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. 1, it can and should end poverty. That's the biggest one, absolutely. It can and should promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment and decent work for all. And then the UN SDGs number 10 is to reduce inequality with and among countries. So all of these benefits that we can deliver through impact sourcing. But I want to now move to a spotlight actually for today's webinar actually on Africa. So here are a couple of stats and quotes from UNICEF. By 2030, a fifth of the world's population will be from Africa, and by 2050, a third of all the world's children will be African. So, you know, just wanted to put that into perspective, but we need to focus on creating millions of new jobs for young Africans so that they can actually join the meaningful labour market. This also then gives an interesting backdrop if we take some quotes from the World Economic Forum. So I was astounded to read that 80% of foreign direct investment into Africa, according to the African Development Bank, 80% of that is going into the Big Four, going into Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa and Kenya. So today, I'm absolutely delighted that we are actually going to be putting a spotlight on Zimbabwe. So hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of a backdrop as to what impact sourcing is for us. And I'm now absolutely delighted to be handing over to Otis to then just talk about what they've developed in Zimbabwe. So I'll stop sharing now, Otis, and hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kerry, for that great overview in terms of impact sourcing. Good morning to our viewers, whether it's morning where you are or afternoon or evening. It's great to have you on board. And once again, thanks, Kerry, and GSA for arranging this platform for us to have this discussion around impact sourcing. It's always a pleasure to to connect on this subject. I remember from our last engagement at the Global Sourcing Festival in the UK, it was quite an interesting platform indeed. Great, awesome. So I'm just gonna walk us through in terms of what is happening from a Zim lens as part and parcel of the impact sourcing story on the continent. So my name is Otis Makamadze. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for OmniContact, a company of the Econet group of companies. We are basically a BPO. And if I could just kind of pick up from where Kerry was highlighting, about some of the statistics happening in or emanating from Africa. It's important to note in terms of some of the implications of what is happening, as the world shifts, as the demographics shift, that 11% of the African youth are currently unemployed. And if you want to kind of, contextualize, you're looking at least between 12 to 15 million eligible candidates for impact sourcing. That is, they have the education, they have, the basic foundational skill, and could potentially be absorbed. So clearly there is a huge untapped talent pipeline that is available. This again is also coming out of the World Economic Forum. So it means that, when I look at it with or from the BPO lens, there is definitely a huge and a sizable opportunity in Africa for BPOs, and indeed any other organizations that would be keen on making that difference on the landscape across the globe from an impact sourcing initiative. Kerry did touch on the top 4 destinations, and you'll find that when you look at it again from a BPO lens, that a number of the leading global BPO players, they've got presence in these 4 countries. And one of the biggest things that is coming out is that the impact sourcing as an employment initiative, as an empowerment initiative, has really taken a good root in terms of their operations, and you can judge and gauge from the statistics that indeed it is something that is gonna play a very critical role, and is a game changer for for the continent as well as for the world in totality. So just to try and paint a picture in terms of Zimbabwe, and also give a sense, Zim is one of the countries that is amongst the most literate countries on the continent. It's actually sitting within the top 10. I think the statistic I saw is it's at number 8 in terms of proficiency of English language. Very high literacy levels. Very well-spoken English, as well as other languages that would be required. The government has also stepped up in terms of the effort to support this as a nascent industry within the country, basically coming from the backdrop of the high unemployment rates in the country, and as such they've started to make intentional and deliberate steps to look at how best can we, assist and support this industry to grow. So again, that for me, it is actually a good indicator from that government standpoint, because when you look at also our neighbor, South Africa, which happens to have, been very far ahead in terms of, establishing their BPO or their global business services industry, we can actually borrow some, key learnings from there. When you look at the labor pool to date, I think we have maybe since 2020 thereabout over 5,000 individuals that are in the BPO sector, and the number continues to grow by the day. You'll find that a lot of our people, they're very much self-driven when it comes to their personal growth and self-development, and that really makes a good quality in terms of the right profile of people that you can look for when it comes to providing opportunities in terms of employment. When it comes to cost, it's equally a cost competitive destination, and you'd find that typically you're looking at least 30 to 40% cheaper when you compare to some of the key destinations. So again, a good indicator in terms of saving costs for organizations, and also growing highly profitable business operations, and doing that in a sustainable manner. I did touch on the educational system, so I'll not dwell much on that. And again, we are seeing that from a political environment and economic environment. I think we've seen some signs, at a global stage in terms of some of the changes that are happening on the political front, which again signals to potential investors, to potential partners that are looking to move their work to be delivered out of this destination. I'll then kind of double down on OmniContact, which is part and parcel of the Econet group. So for us, impact sourcing is not something that we sort of started just a few years ago, no. But right from the launch of the operations as far back as 1998, there was a deliberate and a purposeful move by our founding chairman, Dr. Strive Masiyiwa, where as a group there was a decision that the organization would be sponsoring students by offering them scholarships. So that was one part of that whole corporate social responsibility being aimed to make a difference within our operating environment. One of our philosophies as an organization is that we say we do well by doing good. And between the time from 1997 to around 2022, 2024, I would say, we have seen over 350,000 scholarships that have been given by the organization in terms of funding kids from primary school all the way to university. We actually have some of our students that have attended the Ivy League universities through benefiting from the what we call the Higher Life Foundation scholarship system or scholarship program. So that for us, from an OmniContact perspective, has also proven to be a talent pipeline where we are picking up from where an individual has actually gone through that education funded, and they are now in a position to start their employment. Over and above that, we've also had a deliberate investment in terms of equipping these youngsters as they finish school through lifelong leadership and lifelong development programs. So over 68,000 have actually gone through mentorship programs of different forms, whether it's financial empowerment, whether it's technical skills, whether it's leadership, you name it, as a way to equip them to be ready for the workplace. And when it comes to the job creation and the sustainable livelihoods, that's where OmniContact is now anchoring and basically coming into this value chain. For ourselves, we have basically said 20% of our workforce should be teams or people that are coming through the impact sourcing effort as a way to also, absorb some of that rich talent into our operations. When it comes to the model that we use for our impact sourcing activities, we've basically a three-pronged approach. So firstly, it's about our partnership and collaboration with universities and the community at large. So through this particular arm, we've basically built relationships with organizations, for example, that champion the cause of differently abled individuals, people that in one way or another.
Good morning. I'm calling as an agent on behalf of clients.
So from that standpoint, that
yes,
feeds
they are
into
not taking progress chasing calls.
From that standpoint, we
Through the chair. Sorry, Chief, you are muted. Your mic is muted.
Yes,
Thank you.
Otis. Let me
Thank
see if I
you.
can unmute you.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me
Okay, we've got
reshare.
you back, Otis.
Okay. Thank you, Kerry. Thanks for that. Right. So I was talking about the partnerships that are basically creating our impact sourcing ecosystem. So I spoke about the universities. I spoke about, organizations that champion causes for the differently abled individuals. And then we also work with, providers of work who are, global organizations that are looking to actually spread their impact through partnering with OmniContact to drive, their ESG agenda. So from this model, it basically puts us in a role where we become almost like an accelerator, because over time we've basically built a pipeline of capable, talented young people that can then, basically they are taken through the initial training to make sure that they are work ready, and then they are absorbed in terms of the different programs that we run. So given that we are working with a number of organizations, including, some Fortune 500 organizations out of the US, we also do some significant work with customers out of the US and Australia and other destinations. So that has enabled us to see, this accelerator program running. But I believe that even as we go forward, as we look ahead, there's definitely an opportunity for us to see this particular program really expanding and creating and making a large impact, within our environment, also within some of these families. I'll just touch briefly on one of our, customers that we are working with, where we've basically, brought in a team of impact source workers. I think the key issue here, in terms of the problem or the challenge that we're looking at was that they needed, skilled, reliable workers to meet the growing demand for their services. That was one aspect. And there was also need to look at how to do this in a cost-effective way, and also to give back to the community by creating that diversity and inclusion lens, DEI. So obviously there were issues, around, okay, to what extent can some of these guys, grow through the hierarchy? To Kerry's point earlier on, that you're not just doing this as a social washing kind of initiative, but you want to do it in a way that is meaningful, that actually, creates value, that, empowers not just an individual, but communities. Because in the context of the African, when one person is employed, it means that you've basically fed an entire family. So for us, we found that to be very much aligned in terms of what we are looking at, to do well by doing good. So we partnered, and we're able to access, untapped talent pools. In our own program, we actually run a very comprehensive training program. We basically go through that whole entire, screening process, police clearance, medical checks, and so on, just to make sure that, the people that we're getting in, they are checking, all the boxes. So there's no way where we are kind of cutting short the process of doing the needful in terms of your background checks. And, we got these guys in. We also partnered with a local organization called NASCO. They also have people that are differently abled. You'll be able to see a few of them just, sharing their stories in one or two slides, coming up next. what we saw, we've seen our DEI score, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion score, rise to at least 3.1%. And we're expecting, that to be growing as we continue to enlarge that workforce. We've also seen year-on-year growth in terms of, nominal numbers, actual numbers, growth by 75%. And when we look at the programs where we attached these guys to, and then we basically checking that impact from the customers' perspective, we actually realized that they saw around 18% in terms of an improvement in their margins. So, and of course, one of the key things that is looked at when you are in the telco industry is your customer satisfaction. We also saw that rising as well. So clearly demonstrating that there is a very strong business case in terms of using this form of sourcing as a way to actually build sustainable and reliable businesses going forward. I'll just pause here as I take you through this short clip.
I can't hear that. Otis, I don't know if everybody else can.
Okay, let me just see if I can do the sound thing here quickly.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Right. I'll try that again.
Still no audio for me.
Okay.
Chief, can I share on my end?
Sure, please. Okay. So I think once it's up and running, you'll be able to hear the story of some of the guys that have gone through this.
Just confirm if you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Melissa Mandikari. I am a proud beneficiary of the OmniContact Impact Sourcing Program. I had this program through NASCO and FODP set. This program helped me a lot because as a person with short stature, I was not able to financially provide for myself. But after being employed by OmniContact, I was able to fend for myself, something which I'm really grateful for. I feel empowered to be working as part of the CSR for OmniContact. It has really helped me to adapt with others and to also appreciate diversity. The networking part is also a part that excites me a lot because we get to learn from others and we also get to interact on different perspectives and different issues, career-wise and in life.
Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Chikoli. I'm a proud beneficiary of the OmniContact Impact Sourcing Program. I heard about this program from many graduate site savers. This program has definitely transformed my life because I'm now able to feed my family. I'm so glad to be working at Omni Contact as a CSR. For this opportunity has given me a chance to network with other people. It has also given me a chance to improve on my communication skills. And it has also opened a new window of experience in my life.
Hello everyone, my name is Raimo Msengeliwa, a proud beneficiary of the Omni Contact Impact Sourcing Program. I heard about this program through Zimbabwe Albino Association. This program helped me because as an albino, it was much easy for me to find an employment opportunity because of my short eyesight. So even if I try to look for an employment, people would just look down upon me because of my eyesight, and they thought maybe I could not deliver because of the eyesight problem. I'm so glad to work at Omni Contact because there is no discrimination, and they accepted me with my condition as an albino and with my eyesight challenges. Also at Omni Contact, we are one family, we are brothers and sisters. There is no one with albinism, and there is no one without albinism. We are just here together as a family. It is my second home to be at Omni Contact. And also I gained professional growth because I managed to enter the new field of working as a CSR. It is also helping me to be able to talk and to socialize with a number of people, which is giving me a very good network and the knowledge on some of the things which I did not even know.
So, those are some of the guys that we have that we are running with in terms of what we are currently doing. So that's us, Kerry. Thanks very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Otis. So, right, I'm wondering if there are any questions from the floor. There's a lot of people in the room. I've got a question for you from the get-go, actually, Otis, and that's if you could explain a little bit more about your, I don't know, calling it impact sourcing in a box, but a bit about the program, how you can immediately, anybody in this call that immediately wants to have an impact sourcing program could work with you guys.
Awesome. So just to give an overview, I did say that we've created what we call an Ignite. Ignite basically coming from the fact that it's something that is ready to launch, as it were. So it's more of an accelerator program, and in this Ignite ecosystem, we already have existing partnerships through our university, through community partnerships, and so on. And then we also have Omni Contact providing the infrastructure, providing the trainings, providing basically where the teams can work from. So the third piece becomes now anyone who's interested and they would like to partner with Omni Contact in that specific initiative. So depending on what they are looking for in terms of the service or support that Omni Contact can deliver, we basically provide services in three domains. It's your normal BPO, which is your inbound, out kind of work. We also have AI and digital, that is digital work, programming, application development, etc. We have also people that are competent and have actually come through this impact sourcing and are available for us to collaborate on. We also have our professional services arm. Again, they can come through that. So depending on which service that they are looking to deliver, we are able basically to identify out of our talent pool the individuals that meet their specific profile in terms of the skill sets that they're looking for, and then go through a screening process with them as well, because we'll have done our own prior screening. And then if they're happy, we can go into a pilot where they are able to assess before actually committing long term. Because what we've noticed is when we do a pilot, a proof of concept, it actually gives somebody the additional confidence that I'm actually working with people that know what they are doing. I don't know if that adequately addresses your question, Terry.
Yeah, no, that is great. Thank you very much for that. Right, is there any questions from the floor? Please put either your digital hand up or come on camera and ask a question. So whilst people are thinking, Otis, I have one additional question for you, and then that's probably like, what have been the main lessons you've learned from building an impact sourcing program? So if you can share some hints, tips and advice and takeaways, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks, Gary. So I think I can, start from the perspective of our own group organization, Connect Global. Our leadership team basically took a decision to say, look, we would like to be intentional around our, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And as a result, they've set specific targets that we would like to achieve as a business. So from there, that is also filtered, into our group businesses as well, where each of our units actually have that as a metric, and we are able to measure and track that. And I think when you engage with some of the people that have come through that, you actually realize there is more the impact that you're delivering beyond just giving them a job. So I guess from that standpoint, I think for me, it's been a higher level of consciousness and awareness in terms of the impact of this program. The other element I can also say is that some areas where ordinarily you don't look when you're looking for talent. And as a result, you kind of, bypass some very good untapped potential that could actually make impact to your business in terms of what you are delivering, what you are doing. So it basically causes you as a leader to start looking at things in a different way. You're not going down the beaten path, but you actually choose to deliberately look at the uncommon areas, the untapped areas, and you're able to access good talent. The third thing I would like to say is they say that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Over time, we've actually, instilled that discipline within our group businesses to look at how do you measure the impact of what you're doing, whether you are looking at it from the social end, the economic end of things, or even from a business perspective. You actually start to see that is considerable value. With time, you can quantify it, and you can see the number of lives that are actually being touched and being changed. Those are some of the key learnings that I've seen. And I think the last one I would, before I kind of stop, is the power of collaborating. There's an African saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, take someone along with you. Through these engagements and collaborations, we've actually seen that as we open up an opportunity, it then opens further opportunities downstream. So in the end, it's becoming more of a win-win scenario, because it's almost like a self-sustaining ecosystem where you've opened a door, but downstream there are several doors that are open for you because you've simply opened your door to allow or to get somebody to partner with you. So when I look at it in terms of the key lessons, I guess those are some of the key things that come to mind quickly.
Absolutely. I think those are two things that are core within the guiding principles I presented earlier, which is about measurement and evaluation for continuous improvement. Is absolutely critical. Transparency, absolutely critical as well. Right, we've got some people on the call. I'm going to start picking on people. I know that you're there, Matt, because you put something forward, and you, Tracy. Tracy, I'm going to come to you first, because you've got a fantastic program of impact sourcing coming out of South Africa. So Tracy, can I invite you to maybe just give a top level overview of what you've been doing with BPESA?
Kerry, yeah, thanks very much. I think it goes, and hi Otis, thanks very much for presenting. It's always great to see what it is that Omni's up to, and also representing the African continent as a collective, which is always awesome to hear and to see. There's a lot that's been happening across the impact sourcing landscape. As you know, I was very involved with the original Digital Jobs Africa and Rockefeller project, where impact sourcing was actually born out of. And it just really warms my heart to see that it's become a global initiative that was born out of Africa and launched out of South Africa in 2016. So it's really awesome to see where it's sort of come from and where it's grown to. One of the things that I'm very proud of for South Africa and the work that I do with BAPESA, the industry body in South Africa, is that they, along with government, have actually adopted impact sourcing as a key initiative. So Otis mentioned some of the growth that the country's seen and the growth of the sector itself. But one of the key reasons for that, and again, taking out of your playbook, Otis, about working together and being collective, do, is that there was intentional public-private partnership connection. And government actually adopted impact sourcing as one of the key initiatives when it comes to the incentives to support getting global interest into, in this case, South Africa, but Africa. And they built into the incentives that part of the requirement to qualify for the incentives is practicing impact sourcing. Also 20% of the hires when you apply for the incentives need to be impact workers, so practicing impact sourcing. So that's definitely been a huge driver to intentionally ensuring that we are reaching out into marginalized communities and tapping into talent pools that otherwise we traditionally would not have. And there have been some phenomenal success stories coming out of that. Again, and not to repeat what Otis has said, but just the intentionality of what Econet has done over the years about really saying, how do we shift the needle? How do we engage a broader community? And how do we take this phenomenal talent and these amazing individuals and bring them into the world of work? But without intentionality and without organizations working together, it's not going to happen. And in this case, Omni is showing how through the efforts of Econet and that intentionality, it's worked, and we now sort of tap into that and call it impact sourcing. So there's a lot of work that BAPESA as the industry body has done and continues to do, working with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition from a South African perspective. And then I think the other thing that you were referencing is the broader initiative that we've connected on, which similar to for MEGA, is looking at actually capturing what it is that the global community is doing. And that is a human rights sourcing index called Thrive. And we have some initial findings coming out of that. And again, it's great to see that from the initial findings, the global BPO community is looking at impact sourcing as a key initiative. And on the back of a conversation we had recently this week, 100% of those respondents said that they are practicing impact sourcing for various reasons, be it from a commercial saving perspective or be it because it's the right thing to do. So lots of interesting initiatives coming out, and I'm just loving seeing this massive audience on the call today. Obviously, everybody really open to saying, how do we get involved? How do we shift things? And thank you, Kerry, as always, for bringing this global community together to really sort of push the initiative forward. So if there's anything else, let me know. I don't know if I hit what it is that you were asking.
No, that's absolutely great. Thanks so much for sharing it. I think it's really good to get a strong global perspective of what's happening all around the world. So, Matt, if you're still on, I know you've got a great impact sourcing program at ADEC.
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah. Do you want to share a little about what you've been doing?
Hi, Kerry. Hi, Otis. Thank you for that presentation. That was great. Yeah. So we there's impact-based activities at the various locations, but our kind of lead location for that, from that perspective, is really our operation in Athi River outside Nairobi in Kenya. So some of the things we've been doing, it's a really interesting presentation. I really like the intro as well, Kerry, and the sort of definitions. You know, what is impact sourcing, what isn't impact sourcing, that you went through at the beginning. That's the collaboration with IOP. What we've been focusing on recently is increasing the amount of intentionality that we're bringing to our impact sourcing program. There was an interesting and I think completely compatible white paper from Everest that they called the Impact Sourcing Playbook, which I think is very much aligned with what GSA and IOP are doing. That talks about intentionality and a process called ATOM, ATOM, which is basically access, training, onboarding, and monitoring. And it's about how to use that for intentionality, and there's kind of a maturity index around those processes. So yeah, we've been working on our intentionality. A large part of what we're doing is looking at employing people from a rural background. So we're also, along with Otis, getting into that measurement. The more you measure something, the more you can see the impact that you're having. And one of the categories or demographics we're looking at is people from rural backgrounds in Kenya, which we're able to do because of our location. But in terms of bringing more intentionality to it, is how do you recruit from those areas? How do you take away barriers? Who could we partner with? The collaboration is, it comes up time and time again, is really important. And then what do we need to do in terms of onboarding and training and support for people from those backgrounds? Because they may have challenges that non-impact workers may not, particularly when they first start with employment. Simple things like, do they have the appropriate attire when they first start employment? Are they used to an office-based etiquette? Those sort of things in terms of onboarding and taking away barriers. So that's really interesting. I think one thing I'm interested in, because I am hearing this, it's a question actually for Otis, in terms of the sort of the impact agenda. Are you seeing yet that any sort of client-driven impact agenda? Is your program really driven by OmniContact? And then obviously you have the impact benefits, but there's also the competitive benefits, business benefits as well. And then the clients partake in that, or are you starting to see clients actually participating and starting to contribute to the agenda and the objectives?
Okay, so from our end, what we have observed is, there are some of our partners that are actually very, clear from the onset that we would like to work with you on this initiative where it becomes a feeder pipeline into their work directly. So they're saying, okay, we basically share responsibilities. We source the talent, we provide the work tools and everything, and then on their end they are bringing in the expertise, so they do the training, and at a point, once the person has kind of been assessed and deemed fit, then they are actually absorbed to the teams that they are now working, so in outsourcing work to us.
Okay, that's interesting. So sort of partnering really with clients in terms of achieving the impact agenda. Okay.
The agenda, correct, yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
that's
Karen.
absolutely a question for me as well, is how much of this is an impetus from the service provider community, and how much is it actually coming from the buy side? So I don't know if there's any actual experienced buyers on the phone that are on the call that are willing to share their experience. I'm putting people on the spot a little bit here, but so what are you experiencing, Otis? Is it something that you're really pushing out, or is there a demand pull from the buy side?
So we've seen it from both angles. From our own supply chain efforts, we are basically making it a requirement that for you to come on, there's a certain element of contribution of that tender that speaks to your ESG agenda, that whole inclusivity, supply diversity. So we also want to understand what you as our supplier are doing in that space. So, and we like I indicated that we've got a target that we are okay, fine, would like to get a certain percentage of our own suppliers checking the box in terms of what they are doing within the impact sourcing side of things. Then we also have, from our end, we are saying that we can be an enabler, we can be a facilitator as well by, making it ready for you. We test drive together, and if you're happy, we then, hit it off like that.
Great. Tracy, you put your hand up. Do you want to jump on in here?
Sorry, I was actually just applauding what Otis is doing, so I pushed the wrong button. But just to add on to that, and it's a great question, Kerry, is the requirement for impact sourcing coming from the buyer, the source itself, or is it coming from the provider? And when we originally launched the program, we realized the absolute necessity to get the buyer community to start pushing for providers to be practicing impact sourcing. And it has become an education process. I'm thrilled to say that when I asked the question in any forum sort of 3 years ago saying, who's heard of impact sourcing? And maybe 20% of the audience put up their hand. When you ask that same question now, you've definitely got sort of 80% putting up their hand saying, we've heard of it and we practice it in some way, mean or form. But the fact that Omni's actually saying to their clients, guys, we want to work with you. We want to offer absolute excellence and service, but we're going to do it this way. And let us educate you on what impact sourcing is and how we as an organization operate. That in itself is education of the buyer market if they haven't already insisted on their providers practicing impact sourcing. So it is a two-way street. It wasn't just from the buyers down to the providers, insisting the providers do it. It goes both ways. So I really applaud what Otis and Omni and the team are doing.
Thanks for that, Tracy. Right, we are virtually at time. So Otis, any closing remarks from you? And then I'll give my closing remark.
No, thanks, Kerry. I think, for me, this area is going to be, one of the key game changers for the industry and for the continent. And, what I would really like to say is let's come together, let's partner, let's make this happen and, create that kind of future, that kind of posterity and legacy that we would all love, to be associated with. So thanks for being, one of the, forerunners and champions of this initiative. Appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Otis. We really appreciate the work that you're doing. Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that the global technology and business services industry is an industry for good. We've done phenomenal work all around the world on this subject of bringing meaningful employment and opportunity to already millions of people, but there is so much more potential for us to do. But it does really come back to what you've just said, and it is all about collaboration. So if anybody wants to share their best practice, their case studies, their ambition, their learnings, then we really would like to be that platform that actually shares all of that with the community so that we can together learn and together grow this all important movement of impact sourcing. And just from the GSA perspective, we are absolutely looking forward to coming down and seeing you guys in Zimbabwe, and it is our heartfelt intent that we will practice what we preach, and we will be growing a small impact sourcing team to work directly for the GSA and the GSA community. So I look forward to seeing many of you, I hope in Zimbabwe sometime soon. But thank you so much, Otis. Keep up all the great work, everybody at Omni, and thank you all, everyone that's really passionate about this subject of impact sourcing. Let's make great things happen. So thank you all, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.